of these kids is doing his own thing. One of these kids is not the same. One of these kids is doing his own thing. Now it's time to play our game. It's time to play our game. You guys are probably too young to even know what that is. So what we have here are Reflex RX28s. The newest one, this is the Gen 2. This is the SE, and this is the OG, right? This SE is actually supposed to be running the regular front end, but I'm experimenting with it. It's in experimental phase right now. Yeah, but this review is not about all these. I just wanted to show you guys what each one looks like, okay? So this is the original, right? The OG Reflex car. Original pod, the 4 screws in the back. You set your screws to set your rear ride height. But that's the original, right? And then out came the SE and the KISS front end. All right, so that's the KISS front end. There. Focus on the front end. That's the KISS front end with the arms and such. It still had the original pod on the back with the 4 screws, slightly refined, but still pretty much the same. It was also a great car. Pretty easy to drive right out of the box. If you wanted to make it easier to drive, you ran the KISS front end. If you wanted to make it a little bit more nimble, quicker in and out of the corner, you would use the double A-arm front end. Now this is the new Gen 2, right? The bigger, more noticeable difference is the rear pod has changed. It's got a 2-point linkage system where you could put a spacer in here to adjust your rear ride height. It was a bit easier. I think it's a little bit less weight in the rear possibly too, I'm not sure. It's a great car. But before we get into the Gen 2, let's talk about some issues that people had with the original car. This car is still running the original arms with the original balls that go in there, not the ones that you put the screw through and all original parts here. I still run the car just the way it was. It's still really great to drive, really stable, really sturdy car, but there is some movement in the front, right? A little bit, not a ton, but a little bit of movement there. You could tighten most of that up by shimming the front wheel here and getting the screws and inserting them and tighten up your ball cups and stuff like that. This is a super stock car. I don't really do that. It doesn't really affect it too much. In mod, it probably affected a lot more. But so that was the Gen 1, right? People had issue with the what was it? The way the bearing goes into this rear piece. There's some movement there. Just a teeny tiny bit, but you can get rid of it. You just either put a little Loctite in the hole and then put the bearing in, and it would get rid of the slop. Or you could use CA glue, one of the two. And it's something just to fill a little bit of gap. It also keeps your bearings in. I would use Loctite because it's easier to get the bearing out than CA glue, but you know, there's a little trick. Then when the initial car came out, there were some issues with the way the ball went into this cup here. If you inserted it wrong, it would break the arm. It would split down the middle. So then a series of arms came out. There was the hard set, which is the gray ones. I have 2 of those. I've never used them. The hard set, there was a soft set, there was the original set. And all of them have a bit of play in them, just a little bit. You can get rid of most of it by using the inserts, the caster inserts. And there you go, that was the V1. Like, it had its issues. There were parts missing from some kits, but it was still a really good car. Great car, good price. One of those deals where you bought the car and that was it. There was no like, you may have bought some optional springs. I think that was the only thing that was separate in this kit. And then came the SE. The SE, I mean, there were still a couple more versions of this car, but for the most part, that was the beginning. Then the SE came out with the tub chassis. This car, a little more refinement on the design. The tub chassis deal was it's milled out of one piece of brass. And it was cool. It was a cool concept. I like this car too. It was a lot more stable as a mod car. It was still running the 4-screw rear pod. And, you know, all in all, great car. You know, it had less of the issues than the first version did. The kit shipped out a lot more accurate. There were a lot less missing parts. The KISS front end was like, I don't know, it was really great when it came out. This gets you away from the breaking of the long front arms. Like a longer front arm is just what people are running. It makes it for a more nimble and agile car than a short arm. But they made this so that it was easier to set up and less maintenance. But you lose a great deal of steering agility with it. So yeah, that was the SE that came out. KISS front end. Great, right? Enter the Gen 2. Just another set of refinements on pretty much the same idea. Now the Gen 2 comes with these aluminum, it doesn't come with it, but you can buy aluminum upper arms, which I suggested you get if you're into durability and the fact that you could change your camber on your front end. That's pretty cool. When I initially got the kit, I didn't use them. I used the plastic ones, and yeah, I switched over. That's all I'll say about that. And the rear pod on this car is slightly different, as I may have discussed if I didn't cut that part of the video. It's a 2-screw system on the bottom there, 2 screws and shims that either raise or lower the rear pod height, which, you know, effectively raises or lowers your rear ride height, right? Less apt for someone to wreck you and hit you in the back and screw up your settings, right? I mean, but it does create only 2 points of failure. So if you lose a screw, you are kind of screwed. Haha, get it? But as long as you tighten them in there fine, some Loctite on there, you'll be all right. I haven't lost either one of these 2 screws. There's some differences in if you notice here, on the original car, the servo mount plate was like a C-shaped item. Let me see this piece here. It's a straight plate across here. I don't know if I guess they don't, because the mounting options are different. But same deal where you can move this up and down to give you less or more steering. Everything else is pretty much the same. Yeah, a lot of the geometries, like, also if you notice the springs in the rear, the ones on the new car lay down, as opposed to these are lower toward the outside of the car. Refinements, just refinements on the design to give you a better driving experience. If you own an SE, you should get one of these. If you own the V1, you should get one of these, because you're gonna like it, right? If you like these 2 cars, you're gonna love this car. If you're in the market for a brand new car, then why not, right? The beauty of these cars is that well, aside from the aluminum upper arms, everything you see here is in the kit, right? And the aluminum upper arms are like maybe an extra 36 bucks or something like that, I think it was, I don't remember. But well worth it. From like pretty much right out of the box, you're good to go. You may want to buy the optional springs. Optional springs and aluminum arms, as opposed to like a GL car where you're pretty much gonna replace everything internally of the car. Like everything that comes out of that box is plastic is gonna need to be replaced with something aluminum in that car. Now, is it going to be great after you replace it? Yes, yes it is. Is it good without it? Yeah, it is. But it's not much nicer to get everything you need right out of the box. And that's that's the Reflex Racing sort of benefit, opposed to just, well, not opposed, but in addition to just having a pretty well balanced car. There are folks who, you know, swear by the KISS front end. There are folks who swear by the double A arm. I prefer the double A arm now that the aluminum upper arms exist. I crash not a lot, but it's enough that I would need aluminum arms in the front. I'm waiting for aluminum lower arms. That would be awesome. But yeah. So, and I don't know, guys. It's a great car. I mean, I don't know of any RX28 that's come out that have been like, that I had to poo-poo on. They're all really good. And it's really hard to find a bad car these days, but it's a great, the cost is good, and doesn't cost too much. And you get everything you want right out of the box for the most part. Another thing, one thing I did forget to mention is that the screw system, right? So you know, those little screws here, that's for tightening the ball cup around the ball end there. That's pretty cool. I mean, once it wears in a bit, you just tighten up the screw, and it, you know, gets rid of the slop. Teeny tiny bit of slop in there, just a teeny bite. But yeah, all in all, great car. Here's some footage of the car running, because, you know, that's what you do in a review video, right? You show the car running. I'm not the greatest driver in the world, but it was the first time I put the car on the track, and I did pretty well in the qualifiers. I couldn't use the car in the main because one of my motor wires came loose from the ESC, and I thought it pulled the pad. It ended up not doing that, but I thought it had, so I ran this car instead. And it was not dialed. It wasn't ready. She wasn't ready. But this car, fantastic. Anyways, here's the running footage. Come on back and we'll close this out.
Last lap was 11.6. Cisco with a 12.4. Norman with a 12.7. And Sean Patterson with a 12.1.
Body's not on right. Body's not on. Yep.
Got one dead on the straight. All clear. You guys got 4 minutes now, 1 minute to go. The Monster Kingdom to a victory. And it's brand new Reflex Racing.
Middle.
One over here, one over.
All right, so, you know, this review's been all over the place. I've been trying to get it out for quite some time. I wanted to actually get the car in a mod configuration and run it that way, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm going to keep my Superstock car because it's going great in Superstock right now. So yeah, I mean, in my opinion, is it better than the other two cars that came before it? Yes. Yes, it is. The driving experience is pretty much the same. It's more durable. And all in all, it's a good car. I got nothing bad to say about Reflex Racing. They make a good car. Tunability is all there, of course, with the now camber adjustable front aluminum arms, which are fantastic. Get yourself some. It's a good car. Well, there you go. So if I had to give it a number, I'd give it like a 9 out of 10. The first car was a 7 out of 10, a lot of problems. The SE was probably 8.5 out of 10. And the new car is about a 9.5 out of 10. It's almost there. The only thing I would ask is if there were aluminum bottom arms to match the upper arms. Maybe those are coming, not sure. But yeah, there you go. The Reflex Racing RX28 Gen 2 review, if you want to call it that. It's just my thoughts on the car. It's on par with what you would think a fast driver would want out of a car. Yeah, there you go, guys. Reflex Racing. RX28 Gen 2. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. How do I stop this thing from recording?